Malcolm Louie here. Welcome to the High Value Sales Show of Eversprint.com. Today we're speaking with Mike Schroeder, the president of Roundstone, a fast-growing provider of turnkey health insurance solutions for small and mid-sized employers that are transparent, flexible, and cost-effective. Welcome to the call, Mike.
Thank you for having me, Malcolm.
Mike, you grew your company's revenue from $6 million in 2014 to $13.4 million in 2017, a 122% increase, and now you're on track to hit $17 million in 2018. What's the one thing that allowed your team to achieve this revenue growth over the past 4 years?
Malcolm, we're able to control the rise in cost of health benefits for employees of middle market firms. And that is a circumstance that the middle market is really challenged by. They're seeing their costs double every 4 years. Our solution, our health insurance product, is able to control those costs and minimize the increases. And so the fact that we're able to deliver that effectively to the middle market, employers with 50 to 1,000 employees, has really driven our growth.
Now, were these companies beating a path to your door to buy your product, buy your solution, or did your team have to go out and find them and show them that there was a better way out there?
No, interesting. We distribute through retail insurance advisors, and for a period of time we had to reach out to those advisors and inform them, let them know about our strategy to help their clients. And then more recently, we've had to go out to the employer market and let them know that there are alternatives to the traditional insurance funding approach, in that there's a different way where they can basically fund their benefits much like a Fortune 500 company. So we've had to do both things. We've had to educate the distributor market, and we've done that over the last several years. And then more recently, we've started to inform and let the employer market know that they do have a choice at how they fund their health benefits for their employees.
So for the employer market, when they see that they have alternatives, do they go to you directly, or do they still go through a distributor?
No, we maintain our distributor, our retail advisor relationships, and so the employer market would access our solution through their advisor. And if they don't have an advisor they're comfortable with or is familiar with our approach, then we're able to introduce them to an advisor in their neighborhood that can help them out.
Okay. So to grow your market and develop it, to get the word out, to educate your distributors, educate the employers, what was the biggest challenge your team had to overcome to get to where you are today?
Well, like anything that you're selling, you need to find out what's important to that buyer, and going through a process to find out what is driving the buying decisions of employers, what is driving the decision by the intermediary to introduce solutions to the employers, was a process, and it took some time. It was sort of a trial and error. But once we discovered some of that, what we call pain, or we discovered some of that motivation, we were able to more effectively connect the dots for them as to how our solution could respond very well to some of the challenges they were confronting. And that idea, or that approach, applied to both the advisor, distributors we use, as well as the employers. But it was really finding out what these employers needed and why they needed it.
How did you go about finding out the pain points? Did you do a huge survey of your advisors and your employers and ask them what their biggest challenge was? Or is it just grassroots, speaking to people one-on-one, one person at a time to figure it out?
There's a little bit of both. There's no question the best is one-on-one conversations with an employer that fits our target market, no doubt. How we speak with them, whether that's in a conference setting, whether that's in a webinar setting, whether it's a survey, that's kind of all over the board. But every chance we have to speak at association meetings or conferences, every chance we have to speak to their trusted advisors to get their input, that's what we did. And you just learn a tremendous amount. And quite frankly, a lot of it is trial and error, where you present your proposal, you present your solution. You may succeed, you may fail, but you always follow up to get some feedback as to why a decision was made one way or the other.
Right. How many advisors, how many employers do you speak to before you guys finally got it dialed in?
Oh, we still are. We're always talking to them and always trying to make sure we have a good understanding of what they're trying to accomplish. And, we've spoke to thousands and thousands before we even came up with, say, a first couple ideas of what's paramount in their minds. And things change, too. Over the past several years since we've been offering our product in the marketplace, employee satisfaction and the impact to the employees from rising healthcare costs and the impact to employees on their paycheck has become more and more important to the employers. And that's something that we've discovered and come to know over the last couple years. Maybe 5 years ago it wasn't talked about as much, but today, where you have raises for employees going up at a rate of inflation, but you have healthcare costs being allocated out to these employees at 10 or 20 or even 30%, the financial impact is to these employees is a high priority for any employer, and especially today in the middle market where there's almost full employment and recruiting and retaining employees is paramount. They better figure out a way to stop shifting these costs to the employees and hurting their paycheck. And so that is something, Malcolm, we've really just learned in the last year or two.
Now, was it quite obvious, or this new pain point, this evolving pain point, or is it something that you get little hints of it and then your team kind of has to put the little pieces together and figure out the puzzle?
No, it's pretty obvious. If you just mention the word health insurance and what are your thoughts?
Okay.
You're used today, almost any employer today, if you suggest the idea of health insurance and ask for their thoughts, you're going to hear in one of the top three concerns is the financial impact to their employees.
Right.
And
what are the other pain points that you see coming into the picture? They're not that big right now, but you're hearing it mentioned more and more often.
We see it evolving where employers want to know how they can make their employees more effective at purchasing health care. They've tried the idea of just raising a deductible or raising a copay on a service, and that kind of consumerism, they thought that financial burden would drive good purchasing of health care by the employees, and that hasn't worked as well as they initially had thought. So they're looking for other ways to educate and inform the consumer, their employees and their family members, at how to purchase health care more efficiently and how to get the highest quality care at the most effective price. And any kind of tool or any kind of solution like Roundstones that helps them do that, we're finding that they're having a keen interest in learning more about that.
Right. Now, do you provide a portal to your clients where their employees can go into the portal and see what their healthcare options are?
Yeah, we have quite a few tools that allow the employees to become better informed at how to purchase healthcare, and you could call it a portal. To me, it's just a handheld app that they can place on their phone, and that'll let them know the cost of certain care, the quality of the provider, which is critically important, and then the cost to the employee based on the plan the employer provides to them. All of that's available real time. It's all customized for that employee. It's all very confidential to that employee. But the key is making sure that employee is aware of the quality's impact on cost, and that making a choice to go to a certain provider to receive care at a certain location will have an impact on what it ultimately costs to that employee. And so making a decision that's well informed at that time is really important. And the employer wants to encourage that kind of behavior because ultimately the employer is the one who's paying the bulk of these costs. And so making a more educated purchaser and their employee is going to help out that employer. But it's all handheld. It's all available on an app on your phone, just like any other of the downloadable apps we have today.
Cool. Can you share how many clients you had back in 2014 when you were at $6 million in revenue, and how many you're planning to have, projecting to have by the end of 2018?
My memory on 14 is probably not all that great. My hunch is we were probably at a couple hundred back then,
okay.
But I don't recall precisely. Today, in December of 2018, we're trending right around 500.
Okay.
And we think we add a little more than 100 a year, and we're kind of trending towards 150 to 200 new employers every year.
4 years ago, were companies paying a lower price point or a higher price point?
Well, keep in mind our whole strategy is to keep that cost flat. So
okay.
while our customers from 5 years ago are maybe paying a little bit more, at most it's an inflation level increase, and quite honestly, many of them are paying the same amount they were paying 5 years ago.
Okay.
But that's what they find so attractive. That kind of flat cost increase compares to what they had been doing, where it was doubling every 4 years. So one of the things we like to tell employers is, in our program, every 4 years you'll have saved enough money off of what you used to be paying and the increases that you were used to incurring to essentially pay for an entire year for free.
Right.
So sort of buy four, get a fifth year free.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I
our
can see
customers, if things go the way we typically experience, a client's not going to be paying too much more after 4 years than they were paying when they first bumped into us.
Yeah. Now, they went through the traditional health insurance route. On average, what's the average annual increase of traditional health insurance for a company?
I think on the low end, you're looking at 10%, and on the higher end, twice that.
Wow. Yeah. So literally after 5 years, if you maintain your current traditional policy, you're going to be paying, roughly speaking, twice as much as 5 years ago.
Yeah, and when you think about what these numbers are, and our typical client has $1 million in healthcare spend, so that means in 5 years it's going to become $2 million.
Right.
And if they run that on their P&L, and they look at what kind of impact that has to their profits with that kind of cost increase, I mean, it's dramatic, and it's that kind of realization and that kind of quote-unquote pain in the market that is causing us to find some real traction for our solution.
Right. So given that roughly speaking, your revenue per company that you have on board is about flat, your growth is pretty much coming entirely from just adding more companies to your platform. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. And when you onboard a new client, how long do they stick with you, have you found?
We have right around a 90% renewal rate, and so most of them, the vast majority of them, stay with us, 4 or 5, years. There's really not a finite time.
Yep.
We lose a customer because they're bought, or we lose a customer because they perhaps change an advisor, and the advisor isn't familiar with our product. But the vast majority of customers stick with us, and it would be hard for them to go back to another funding strategy when they've been experiencing flat costs. They just, and not only that, they also are experiencing the information behind why they have flat costs. And the choice of going back to another program where they might not get the information to explain their costs and run the risk of those costs starting to increase again, all of that plays very well into a high retention rate of our business.
Yeah, 90% is fantastic. I mean, essentially, they're with you for 10 years. Right?
That's right.
Yeah, so it's a good number. Now, when you grew your business, your number of customers, clients, from 200 in 2014 to 500 in 2018, how did your team do that? Was it purely just education, and then these people raised their hands and want to learn more, or were you word of mouth? Was it through some sort of advertising channel? How did you guys?
Yeah, so we did some marketing, a lot of it through our website and SEO, and we have a conference every year where we invite prospects and existing clients, and we share best practices and solutions to them to control their costs. And then we have a sales team that's in the field throughout the United States, and they're calling on advisors throughout the United States and introducing those advisors to the solution. And then lastly, our sales team and our management team are actively involved at speaking throughout the country at different conferences. So a combination of some direct marketing through the website and the internet, and some just old boots in the field approach with the sales side.
Right.
Really kind of added up to the market.
So is the key adding more advisors to your program who can sell your product, or was it more so just helping educate the advisors so they would think of your solution more often?
Yeah, it's adding more advisors who, one, certainly understand the value proposition of our funding strategy, two, believe in it and really lead with it, meaning make it a real core piece of their solutions to their customer base. And then lastly, it's also making sure the employer market. So we estimate that there's several 100,000 employers in that 50 employees to 300 or 500 employee size firm throughout the United States. I would tell you the vast majority, almost 2/3 of that, are completely unaware of a funding strategy that could help them control their costs. And we need to educate those employers more so that when they do sit down with their advisor, and usually that only happens once a year, unfortunately, but when they do sit down with that advisor, they can tell them, hey, I'd like to see the Roundstone solution. I'd like to see the Roundstone insurance product and see whether or not it can help me. And so we need to not only get more advisors that understand our program and that believe and lead with our program, but there's no question we have a lot of educating, forming we need to do in that middle market employer space.
Right. Have you, what has your marketing told you in regards to, how much of your marketing direct to the companies are resulting in more new business as opposed to your marketing to advisors? Which channel? This pull-through marketing, as we like to say, is a fairly new initiative for us. Okay. And it's really, I can't say we have a good handle at how much of our new business just yet is attributable to it. Just back of the envelope, we can look at how many inquiries now are coming through our website, roundstoneinsurance.com, or how many calls we get from advisors on a daily basis or weekly basis asking to learn about our program because one of their clients asked to see it. So those numbers have gone up considerably from, say, a year ago when we started these initiatives directly communicating with the employers, but I can't tell you for sure we got a good handle. I would say it's probably gone up, in terms of that kind of volume, 200%. How much of that is carried over into our business, we don't have that tied down just yet. Right. So for 2019, what are your sales and marketing objectives?
So we want to add 150 new employers, and we would like to see our revenue certainly jump up above $20 million, and we have every reason to believe we'll do that.
Okay. What's the plan to get there? You're at 500 now, so you want to add another 150. You're looking to end the year at 17 million, so you're looking to add another 3 million to your top line.
Yeah. Well, we need more of these employers, and so these initiatives we've been discussing, getting the word out there with our direct marketing to the employers, and we anticipate our conference this year will grow to be over 500 attendees in May of this year, of 19, I should say, and our sales team obviously is maturing, and their goals and their objectives are increasing as they get better at what they do. We have launched an initiative called Roundstone University, which is an online learning management system that is focused on training and educating and supporting the advisor market so that they're very familiar with our solution. And that's at roundstoneuniversity.org. And it's free, and it's available to them so that they can become an expert in this new funding strategy and deliver the solution to their clients. So, we're kind of hitting on all cylinders in terms of educating the advisor market, introducing the concept to the employer market and informing them of it, and then lastly, just continuing with our kind of word of mouth, grassroots efforts through the conferences, the sales team, and the speaking. So I think hopefully with the combination of those things, those three items, we should, I'll be surprised if we don't hit our goal.
So you mentioned a conference. Now, this is a conference of your own that you organize, that your company organizes and hosts, or are you talking about participating in other industry events?
No, we organize and host an annual, we call it the Medical Captive Forum, and it's in May 8th and 9th of each year, so May 8th and 9th of 2019, and we invite our current customers and we invite prospects, employer prospects, and we give them a full day of cost containment strategies that they can take back with them and implement in their health plan. There's no cost to the employers to attend. In fact, we pay for their hotel room, and it's intended to, again, educate and introduce to future customers how this approach saves them money. And then for our current customers, it's intended to share with them the latest and greatest ways and ideas of how they can continue to save money on their health benefit costs. We bring in national speakers that are experts in their area of cost containment. It's not a sales-focused conference. It's an educational-focused. Folks walk out of there not so much with a Roundstone funding strategy, sales job. They walk out of there saying, whoa, I didn't realize that I could do all these things to really have an impact on my employees' health benefit costs. And this Roundstone solution allows me to have this control. This Roundstone solution allows me to have the information necessary to implement the control, and that's the kind of takeaway we see when we have this conference. We've been doing it for 3 years. It's gone from less than 100 people, or 4 years, I should say. It's gone less from 100 people to 300 people, and we fully anticipate we'll have more than 500 attendees this year.
No, it sounds like a great event. And the way you structured it, right? It's not a pitch fest, right? I mean, you're providing value and education, and it sounds like Roundstone is more of a soft sell, more of a, if they wish to implement these strategies, we're there to help you do it.
Yeah, we're the platform, we're the funding mechanism that allows these employers to essentially control their costs the same way that Amazon and Berkshire Hathaway and J.P. Morgan are trying to do today. Some of those same strategies. They're going to hear about, and we're going to give them the how-tos, how to bring it back to their company and implement it. And our funding, all we're there for is to say we've got the platform or the tool that will allow you to do this. Right.
Now, what are your challenges that you see in 2019? What do you wish you could do faster? What do you wish you could do, but you don't have the manpower or the time to do it? Is there any piece of the puzzle missing for you?
Well, I just would love to be able to accelerate this process of introducing and educating the solution and finding those advisors that really want to support this approach for their clients, and again be able to more frequently and more effectively and more compelling way communicate with the employer market. So we're doing it. We're having pretty strong growth and success. But I just when I hear that there's 200,000 employers that fit our target market, and we're taking care of only less than 1% of them today, I really wish I could get that message out there a lot quicker than I am.
Right. I mean, what's keeping you from doing that? I mean, why not have an advertisement in the appropriate periodical that these 200 employers are looking at, if there is one? Why not do Google AdWords or LinkedIn advertising to these employers? What's keeping you from flipping the switch and reaching out to these guys?
We're doing that. The AdWords, as you mentioned, the pay per clicks, those are things we're all doing. Our projections or our impact is just, again, it's in the hundreds right now instead of in the thousands. And so I haven't really figured out yet how to make this, as you might say, go viral in terms of, if I'm correct, and I believe I am, that, this pain the employers have is real, and our solution addresses that pain, we need to be more effective in communicating and reaching them, because the numbers we're seeing, while positive and while strong, to me it just seems like it should be a little bit more viral, a little bit more, a little quicker than it is. So
yeah,
just haven't quite figured it out. Yeah.
Well, the story's fantastic. I mean, essentially, for a company that's paying $1 million of healthcare a year right now for their healthcare insurance, in 5 years you can add an extra $1 million to their pre-tax bottom line, right? Just from going through your program as opposed to the traditional program. That sounds pretty compelling. And at the same time, you mentioned how providing a platform that improves employee satisfaction, right? I mean, no one likes very few people like their healthcare program, right? Just having one that's better than most is a huge plus.
No, I agree with you. We think it's a great story. It's very well received every time we deliver it, and we just we have to get out there and continue to do that job.
For my audience out there who have the companies that fit your profile, perhaps if you don't mind, you can maybe recap who your ideal clients are. And for those people, what's the best way for them to reach out to your team to learn how they can explore your healthcare solution?
Well, the ideal customer is one that is sitting back and saying there's got to be a different way in terms of how these employee health benefits are being funded. You know, whether it's from someone looking to minimize the cost increases, or someone frustrated with the lack of disclosure as to what's driving those cost increases, or if you're an employer that, you know, feels that you have some strategies you like to implement, you're not being allowed to, that there's no control from your traditional insurance mechanism to help you control those costs. Those are the type of employers that we'd like to talk to. We find that the employers in the middle market have those frustrations, and there's not a lot of solutions that help them correct them. That 50 employees to 1,000 employees, if you will, and certainly from in that 100 to 300 is kind of the center of the bullseye. That's kind of our ideal customer. So if you have some of those frustrations over information or control or cost savings, you're someone we should talk with. And the easiest way to talk with us is we have a website, RoundstoneInsurance.com. It's very easy on there to get in touch with us, to send us an email, make a phone call, and we'll introduce you to the idea and how it works. And then if you have an advisor, we're happy to work with them, or if you want to be introduced to an insurance advisor in your backyard to implement the strategy, we'll do that for you as well. But that's the easiest way, just to go to RoundstoneInsurance.com and send us a note.
Thanks for joining us today, Mike, and sharing how you accelerated your company's high-value sales.
Malcolm, it was great talking with you.
We've been speaking with Mike Schroeder, the president of Roundstone, about his company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing, high-value sales companies, or to learn how we can accelerate your firm's high-value sales through automation, visit eversprint.com.